All right, it is time for the Hall of Shame. You know the deal. It's the Pohlads. So Voldy, what we're gonna do tonight is we are going to just kind of talk about the recent happenings and things like that. And we encourage the zoners to throw their 2 cents in too
Hmm.
with this whole thing. But I think this is absolutely deserved, especially after the travesty that was this season.
Yep.
I want to start with you, Voldy, and then I'll throw in
Hmm.
my 2 cents with a lot of what's going on here with the Twins. But what are your thoughts on inducting these clowns into the Hall of Shame? What do you got?
I mean, you really look at how things really all turned about. I mean, let's take it back to the start of the season that was 60-game season in the middle of COVID. Now, you really look at how things were all really start to develop in the rise of the streaming services when it came to things such as, everybody getting away from regular cable setup to YouTube TV, all the different streaming platforms that came about, and what was going to happen with baseball and obviously regional coverage of baseball. The downfall from that point, not saying that the Pullads specifically were the receptors of basically getting baseball regional coverage off these major streaming platforms, but they certainly didn't throw any money into the pot to help keep things going on a regular level. Thus, the rise of Bally Sports from Fox Sports on top of that. And now that's a whole song and dance that we'll probably be talking about in length. Fast forward through a couple of seasons of mediocrity, post Bomba squad Twins, the whole situation with bringing prospects up and signing guys that were well past their prime, maybe getting something out of them, nothing coming about out of it. And then all that, not fully investing in the team that was ripe in multiple positions with guys coming back from significant injuries, with a good veteran mix in that starting lineup and obviously in the rotation on top of it, not investing to say, hey, in crunch time, we should probably go and get somebody and just continue to sit on hands on top of it, uh, not making any moves. And now we fast forward to this season, 2024. Once the month of August began, the Minnesota Twins had a 95% chance of making the playoffs. Fast forward through the month of August through September and into, obviously now we are at October 1st. The Twins were eliminated with what, 3-4 games left in the regular season. You could not even make that up, considering the fact at the start of the year, we were talking about how Detroit was going to be deplorable at best, given the fact that they had such young talent and dysfunctional guys at multiple ends of the offense and obviously in the order too. Well, guess what? They were playing in the playoffs today, or playing in the playoffs, while Kansas City, which we knew that was going to be a bit of a test given those young guys really coming up, Bobby Witt Jr. as well, a MVP candidate on top of it. Certainly looking at the situation, the Twins are in an odd flux of old veterans hampered by injury and young guys not getting the full chance to spread their wings, maybe a year or two ahead of their current outlook, while teams around them, minus Chicago, thankfully, are poised with their young talent and maybe a couple extra veterans in their lineup that are on their way out to get them in a proper position to make a run at the AL Central and into the playoffs. Now, all that on top of that, not putting money into the franchise that you have owned for God knows how long, and at least give them the tools that they need to be successful, to build a championship winning roster, and bring some pride back to the state, at least on a baseball side of things, with a atmosphere and a stadium that you do have that is very high on a list of not only just people across the Midwest, but across the country as well. People have many great things to say about Target Field and the amenities that they have when they come visit, or at least ranked very highly among the MLB stadiums across the country. There's a lot of good things people say, but yet the on-field product is not matched what should be done behind closed doors. And there are just so many things happening. And now we look at, as soon as the season ended, that ownership, and obviously Derek Falvey saying that Rocco Baldelli is going to be retained for the 2025 season. That right there is just fully saying that they have no idea what the hell they're doing, and this is just going to continue now, this downward spiraling trend of just incompetency at many levels. And I even saw too today that obviously there are releasing or firing 4 coaches based off of what happened when it came to the poor hitting performances in the back half of the season. I literally said to myself, you're firing the wrong guys. You're firing the wrong guy in the first place. Rocco's the one that should be going, not these other guys, and let somebody else make the decision whether these 4 coaches should have been let go, as opposed to one guy pointing the finger at somebody else when it's clearly at the end of the day his fault over the rest. But circling it all back around, the Pohlads need to take a much more vested interest in their investment and the group that they do have, because sooner or later things are going to come to a head, and I just pray we don't end up in an Oakland situation or even a Chicago situation that we're looking at. We need to sell, this team needs to be sold to somebody else who actually gives a damn and wants to actually do something with it, instead of sitting back and just collecting our money for coming to see games.
First of all, well said, Voldy. That is pretty much sums up, a lot of what I think too. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
add some stuff to this, but
Mm-hmm.
Lucas says they just need to take their profit and be done with it.
Yep.
It's that simple. I wish it was that. Oh, I wish it was that simple. But that's of course the Pohlad way of doing it. Nor do they care, and that is kind of how I look at it as well. Now, you guys know, or zoners know, that I have a profound hatred towards the Pohlad family, and
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it is warranted in that aspect. But let me just let me just preface this by saying that I'm not going to get up and start yelling and screaming and everything like that. I'm going to try to remain calm as much as I can here, Shield. So we will. I will try to keep it that way. So um, I made this graphic, by the way, just because I was very very disappointed, and they cut payroll this season to 30 million and everything like that. We know that. We know the whole ordeal. You know my thoughts on Rocco, but let me fire away something that has been a very interesting and or not surprising comments from one Joe Pohlad, who's technically in charge of this whole thing, and he is the he is running the baseball operations. I believe Jim Pohlad was before, and now he is running it now. And I believe he's a nephew or son or whatever. I really don't care. And I mean that too. So Aaron Gleeman, who is respected, they have a really good. Him and John Bonus have a really awesome podcast. He's on KFAN a lot, and he's very good at what he does. So he went and texted Joe Pohlad about payroll and why the team, is treated just as another typical business. I don't know how you say that and kind of go from there. So let's start with let's start with his first question. He said, "You said you have to make business decisions, but does a sports franchise necessarily need to be treated as a typical business, or can it be treated as part of a bigger community and you're the stewards of something that involves thousands of people? As you look forward, is this going to continue to be treated as just revenue went down, payroll goes down, or is there a different view of a sports franchise? You own a lot of businesses. Is this just one of them, or is this potentially viewed differently?" Pretty direct question.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you are the owner of the Twins, of baseball
Right.
operations. And he says, "No, I view my job as running our business on behalf of this team and our fans. And I'm trying to manage our business so that we can put a winning team both in the short term and long term. And sometimes things come up. Whether they are a different number of things, I'm not going to get into them. And then decisions need to be made. I'm not going to get into those types of decisions, but it is both long term and short term in terms of how you were describing it, Aaron. So yeah, the goal is to always to have a winning product on the field where fans can come and get excited about their team. First of all, I just want to say that's a bunch of bullshit. And basically, he didn't answer the freaking question. He's like, I'm not going to get into them. I'm not going to talk about them. Basically, what you're saying is you know what you're doing, and you know what you're doing wrong. And you and your family, including Jim, including Ron, Chip, and Ernie, whoever the hell else that is owning the Twins here. But you have made it known that you're not willing to invest in the team. It's quite apparent. There's no running away from that. So you tell me, you're telling the fans that, listen, they can do what they want. This is the payroll that they have. They can use that, but we're not going to give you any more. That's a slap to the face of Twins fans right there. And he should be ashamed of himself for those comments. And Gleeman goes on. I encourage you guys to read it. Make sure you check it out. Great job by Aaron Gleeman. I do want to give him some claps because he really presses him, and he's just blah, 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 just a bunch of nonsense. Just please, if you have a chance, please check it out. It's really good. So there's that. You mentioned, and today the Twins firing the 4 coaches, which is absolutely absurd. You can't just tell us that, oh, they were the problem. That's because we had all these problems with hitting and stuff. Your problem was, excuse me, pitching too. There was an issue there too. And you go ahead and you blame those guys for that. No, this is on the damn Pohlads. This isn't a hard thing to grasp. And you have a manager that clearly doesn't know what he's doing and taking guys out, doing the analytics and sabermetrics thing. It's not working. And the Twins are going to pay for it these next couple years if you keep on keeping on with Rocco. All right, so the next thing is another news story comes out. Bally Sports will not carry Twins games in 2025 if new deal isn't reached.
Yeah.
So there was that travesty that happened this year. Is Bally Sports, Comcast, that whole ordeal, the Pohlads taking that money, pocketing it, going from there. So now you're in this instance of, okay, so are we not going to televise Twins games again? I'm telling you right now, a lot of the fans aren't going to be going to games if you don't have a broadcast on there.
Yep.
A lot of people were pissed at you. This isn't me. This isn't just me. This is the whole freaking fan base. This is people that can't see the game, that are in nursing homes and or kids trying to watch the game, and you're taking that away from them. So first of all, screw you for doing that, Pohlads. And this is on you because you don't know what you're doing with it. What a bunch of idiots. I mean, they're just so stupid. Now, here's the one thing that has come up in recent with recent news. So I think it was one of the last games, and there was a fan, I should say, Michael Bailey, who went to the game protesting. He had a sign that said playing on the words of defund the police, it said defund the lads, which, yes, it should, because we shouldn't be sitting around with that. And then he said penny pinching Pohlads equals Twins mediocrity, which is very true. Now, this fan, for bringing that, was banned for a year from Target Field because what he said was derogatory and blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Now, he goes on KFAN the other day and kind of explains what happens, and he, and the thing is you can't be cussing, in front of families and things like that about this whole thing. And that's kind of what he did, but he did it outside of the gates. And he said, like, listen, this isn't, telling kids, this is very minor, I feel like. And the fact that they had to bring out so much security and everything to this is absolutely absurd. And the fact that you're going to ban this guy from Target Field for a year just because he's speaking his opinion tells me that you guys don't care, and B, you're just protecting your asses by saying, well, we don't want the fans to lash out. Pohlads, I got some news for you. This isn't going to stop. We here at Minnesota Sports Live, and as well as the zoners here at Minnesota Sports Live, we're not going to stop talking bad about you, because you have done this whole state a disservice by not spending money, by not investing in your team, by giving bullshit, excuses. And you think that you can sit here and say, well, we don't care. We own the team. You can't do anything about it. We don't have to sell it. We don't have to do everything. Listen, people will not go to games if you keep doing this. This is not a thing where you can just say, well, we're just going to let this blow over. They'll get over it. No. They said that they weren't going to cut payroll this upcoming year in 2025. I don't believe it for 1 second. I don't, because they are pathological liars. They are scam artists. And they have done this whole state a disservice by not investing in this team. Now, I want to wrap this up by saying I've been a Twins fan my whole life. Papa Callahan, Mama Callahan have taken me to games, and I've enjoyed those games from the Metrodome all the way to Target Field as well. And I've always wanted to see the Twins get to that point. Like in the early years, I thought they were going to. And, unfortunately, it didn't work out. And then they were good for a little bit. They were just kind of the happy to be here Twins, like we've been talking about here on this show. And, I thought that this could become a something, but once as I was getting older, I understood that ownership wasn't spending money. They're not going out and, doing things. But it's not just the fans saying it. It's the players. The players. Johan Santana was quoted saying something about them not spending money at the deadline. Justin Morneau. Twins players are complaining about them. And they turn their, they go on mute and say, oh, we don't hear any of it. We're going to do what we want and because we can. I think now this has turned into every Twins fan is against the Pohlads right now.
Oh, yeah.
And
for sure.
It has built and built and built, and I think it's getting to that boiling point.
Yep.
Now, if I were to ask you, which again, and am I going to go to a Twins game next year? Am I going to boycott, not do it? I can tell you one thing: I won't go to as many because I usually go to like 3, 4, whatever. I'm probably only going to go to one because my dad and I usually do that each year. We go to a game together and enjoy what it was. And actually, the Twins won that day too. So, but I will not be attending anything more outside of one because I am so disappointed in this ownership. They are, I mean, that is absolutely positively an embarrassment of what happened this year. And they are a huge proponent of that. And they should be ashamed of themselves. And they should go out into the media and apologize and say that they're going to do better. He said, oh, we're going to have a better team out on the field next year. Well, guess what? Prove it. You guys are worth billions of dollars, so much money. And you sit down there and you think, we're doing what we can, but we're going to cut off payroll. We don't know how to figure out what to broadcast games. Well, screw you guys. You guys suck. We hate you. You deserve to be in this Hall of Shame. And until you figure it out, until you understand, and when people stop going to games, you're not going to be making money. So I am calling for the Pohlads to A, invest money in this team, or B, you're going to face the music. You're going to have fans not showing up to games, and you'll be forced to sell the team. That's the only way that this ends with these stupid ass owners that are the Pohlads, the scam artists of baseball. Meet the Pohlads. All right, let's go to our zoners. I kept it short. I tried to keep it short, and I didn't go too far off the handle. But love the respect Cat showed for Minnesota after he traded him. Yes, absolutely, Lucas. Well said. So just a complete meltdown. Exactly, it is a complete meltdown, and it's disappointing, man. Like they had a 95% chance of making the playoffs, and they just lose it. They just lose it.
Confidence, yeah, it's fine.
So, with that being said, Voldy, I'm taking this Minnesota Twins hat off, and I am putting on our Minnesota hat.
Hey, there we go.
Of this garbage.
Self-promotion, yeah.
So, congratulations, Pohlads. This isn't a list you want to be on, but you are in the Hall of Shame. So
you are in it.
Damn you. And damn you for sitting up in your ivory towers, just counting your money, not investing in the team. You know what? I got a message for you, and I put this on the Twitter, the socials medias. I'll probably have to blur this out later, but here's what I got for you. The birds are flying right here.
Yeah.
Screw you, Pohlads. We're done. Okay. Anyway, Hall of Shame Pohlads have been inducted, the clowns that they are. I'm sure at this point we probably won't be talking Twins for a while unless some other big news happens. So be on